welcome to the Post Sunday app. It's been a little bit
Yes.
since the last Post Sunday app, so if you are new to these videos, the purpose of them is to talk about the sermon Post Sunday and the applications that come from it. I'm Ben Davidson. This is Daniel Bennett. He is the preacher man for yesterday, and I'm the question asker of him
For today,
For today, so yeah. 1 Samuel 22, but skipping into 23 and a few other chapters.
And hopefully people notice we're skipping the chapter with David and Abigail. We're gonna come to that next week.
Okay.
So we're doing an overview of Samuel, 1st and 2nd Samuel. So we're covering some larger sections.
Yeah.
At some point. So we'll come back to chapter 25 next week.
Okay. So a sermon about self-pity.
Yes.
So you wouldn't, if you had on a regular diet of topical preaching, this probably wouldn't come up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Think very often.
No, I wouldn't think so either. And it's a phrase you don't find in the Bible, although I think you find it described. So even as you preach through expositionally, you have to say, okay, what's happening here? What type of sin is Saul guilty of, and what is the narrator trying to teach us? And again, if David is the covenant king and pointing us to Christ, and we're seeing a lot of that in the text, what are we warned against in terms of the heart attitude that Saul has?
Good. Well, the big idea for the sermon was let's wage war against self-pity so that we won't experience its terrible fruit in our lives and in the life of our church. So let's jump into some of the questions.
I was encouraged too by how many people I think were wrestling with that.
Right.
They didn't just say, that's a Ben Davidson problem or Daniel Bennett problem. Like, let me think about how that applies in my life. So I don't. It was super encouraging to me to hear that.
I had 3 conversations just right after the sermon in the lobby where whether it was just kind of in jest or in a self-evaluation, like, oh, that's self-pity, or you want me to self-pity you for that, or so it was definitely on our mind as we left, and hopefully the Spirit continues to work.
That's kind of how sanctification works. And we're reminded of something, and then hopefully the Spirit will continue to remind us of it as the weeks and months go on.
Okay, so one of the questions that came in was wanting to encourage people, sharpen people to not be self-pitying, but what's that balance of, but I also want to care for them and hurt with them. How do we handle that?
So you come to me and you're talking about something you're going through, and I go, well, Ben, that sounds like self-pity to me. I think there's a place. I know there's a place for that,
right?
But I think it is helpful to begin by weeping with those who weep, and to help a person lament, and maybe that's part of the answer is to help a person think through what biblical lament looks like, and there's ditches that you can go off on either side, on all different sides as it comes to grieving improperly. So that'd be something I challenge someone with in a hard circumstance. But I think there's also a tendency for a person who's maybe not in that bad of a situation to feel self-pity. And that's where I would probably confront a little more quickly. So
you use the example of you're in a room with someone with terminal cancer, and they said to you, I'm so sad that it rained on your vacation. So if you came in that room saying, I'm so sad that it rained on my vacation, you probably need a little confronting. I mean, they were very gracious to say that to you, right? So I'm flipping the illustration a little bit.
That's a good flip.
But yeah, you wouldn't. You say I would welcome that type of,
for sure,
of
I hope
feedback.
Right. The cheerful of heart has a continual feast, but all the days of the afflicted are evil. So, oh no, it's the other way around. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but the cheerful of heart has a continual feast. I think that's right. Anyway, just the idea that the person who has a cheerful heart is going to constantly be rejoicing in the things of the Lord. And there are people who have this idea that I'm afflicted and life is bad for me, and all my days are evil, and that's an attitude that I think we do need to confront in a very gentle way. Say, hey, what are some things you do it with your kids? Okay, hey, you've been complaining about some things and feeling bad. What are some great things that God has done for you? Let's think about those things. Turn the eyes off ourselves and onto God.
Yeah, I've had to work over the years on if I want to let a person know that I'm grieving with them.
Yeah.
The words that I say, because you said you can get off in some ditches, right? Like, oh, you don't deserve that, or that's not fair. Those types of things, which I think don't promote biblical thinking. Versus, oh, my heart just hurts with you. I'm so sad for what you're going through.
Yeah.
Instead of, you don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Because what am I saying? I'm saying God's
unfair.
He's not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? So we gotta be careful there too.
Yeah. So I think maybe the bottom line answer is whenever you see a person hurting, just ask a lot of questions at the beginning, and listen and don't speak too quickly. Just listen and a lot of times you think, oh, I know what that person's sin issue is, and you don't. You're seeing maybe a surface wrong response, but there's some deeper things going on that you want to. That if you wasted all your time talking about this, you wouldn't get to this. And so there's just a lot of wisdom, I think, that's required there.
Yeah. Well, related to this then is pride.
Yes.
A question came in of, if I'm self-pitying, isn't that really just pride? How would you answer that?
I'd say it's a type of pride, and I think it's helpful for us to delineate between these different types of pride and the fruit of pride. I think it's helpful to say, okay, well, this is, at some level, all sin is pride, right? Because I'm saying I know more than God does about how to live my life. So I think it's helpful to nuance what type of pride we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So this is how pride is manifesting itself in this area. So I would still say it's probably good to distinguish pride from self-pity.
Yeah.
Or talk about a specific type of pride and self-pity.
Okay. You were also asked about some words you said about Doeg.
Yeah.
Character in the story.
Yeah. I said something I instantly regretted.
Okay.
Yeah, I said Doeg, and he's just a terrible human being. I'm like, that wasn't in my notes or anything. He was a terrible human being. He slaughtered 85 people and helped destroy an entire town. So, terrible human being. But I think what I regretted is it just, there was no follow-up with, and here's how we're terrible, and here's, how the gospel applies to all terrible human beings, and we haven't done things of that terrible nature, but here's how hatred, so it just, I think it caught someone off guard, and justly so. So I'd rephrase that, or I'd talk more about what it means theologically to be a terrible human being.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, I think you covered that well here. So,
but clearly wicked.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a question about our Sunday evening service. But before we get there,
okay,
how do you decide what you're going to preach after 1 Samuel?
Yeah. So my goal is to get
2 Samuel. I'm sorry, you're doing both books.
Yeah, right? 1 and 2 Samuel. Yeah. So the goal is to get through the whole counsel of God, if the Lord allows, during my time as a pastor here at Bethany Community Church. And so we're not going to go through a book we've already done. So if someone is crossing out the books we've done, but it'll be in consultation with the elders. Say, okay, here's probably a New Testament epistle, because we're trying to get Old Testament, New Testament, narrative, epistle, Gospels, historical. So there's a lot of different things we're kind of thinking through. And then this person asked a really, really good question that was asked me about it yesterday. They said, what about, there's some of us who are in a different life situation than younger people. And so I know we've done some books that seem to address whatever situation, maybe some that would address us. And that's not so much a selection, a determination of what books to select. That's more of I need to do a better job of applying the biblical truth to people in different stages of life. Okay. So it's a good reminder.
Okay. All right. Well,
so if people have some ideas, feel free to let us know.
Okay.
What you'd like us to do next.
Yeah. Well, switching gears to last night, we gathered for our monthly Sunday evening gathering, and you started a new series, the Gen X Church.
Yes.
Meaning the history, last 50 years of the North American evangelical
American church last 50 years.
What have been some of the trends and flashes and
some movements that have really shaped how we think of church today.
Yeah. Okay. So you were talking about last night the attractional church.
Yes.
And a person had a question about pragmatism and is it bad?
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you want to give background before you answer the question.
Yeah, so the attractional church model is kind of the philosophy that undergirded the seeker-sensitive movement. And I got that from Jared Wilson's book, The Gospel-Driven Church. He uses that phrase to describe a church whose primary purpose is to attract people, or to make the gospel attractive, or to make church appealing. I can't remember exactly how he words it, but it's not a bad thing to make the church appealing or the gospel attractive, Christianity appealing, but it becomes the primary purpose.
Okay.
We talked about, or Wilson talks about kind of three legs that this stool of the attractional model rests upon. It's pragmatism, consumerism, and legalism. And pragmatism, so first of all, you start with the idea of members are consumers, and we need to give consumers what they want, which leads to pragmatism, what's going to work. And I think it's not bad to be pragmatic. We just were meeting with Phil talking about the family ministry and how can we help disciple parents, and we were talking about some pragmatic questions. How do we do this? That's not bad. Pragmatism, though, says I'm going to base my decision on what to do based upon what will work, defined by a consumeristic mindset. So pragmatism would have said, Phil, how can we get parents to our church, and what's going to make people happy, and what'll be the most effective way to get people pumped up about this. We started with, what does Scripture say we need to do to disciple parents? Now, pragmatically, how do we best do what God has called us to do?
Okay.
So, wisdom principles.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
Yeah, that's how I would distinguish the two. But whenever pragmatic principles line up with biblical goals, not a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So,
all right.
Is that it?
That's it.
It's a lot.
We covered them all.
Yeah.
We covered them all. So thanks for joining us. Oh.
No, we're almost 13 minutes in.
Okay.
We got to wrap up. Quick.
Thanks for joining us.
5, 4. Thanks.
Have a great rest of your day.